Hey everyone. So I had one of my followers on here ask me to make a video about how I balance my work and my school life, some tips and tricks, and kind of walk through my schedule and how I've done it so far. So I like to joke and say I'm still trying to figure this part out, even though I have 4 months of school left. So, this is what I have done since starting school. So, my first tip is you need to work somewhere or have a job that is flexible and also is understanding about your schedule and the requirements of nursing school. I can't speak on other like medical field schools because I have clearly not done them. Um, I can only speak on behalf of my nursing program and my school schedule. So take this with a grain of salt, but this is what I have had to do to balance working and going to school. So originally, when I started school in January 2023, I was working in HR and I worked for a behavioral health facility. So I still was working in healthcare. I just needed a break. I got really burnt out working as an MA during COVID and the pandemic. So I started working like in an office, but I still had to utilize my skills as an MA. So I started working in HR and I absolutely loved working in behavioral health. It was adolescent behavioral health, and it was my first time working in that field and also with adolescents as well as adolescents with autism. So it was like a multi-collective facility, and that's actually what got me interested into psych is working with behavior technicians and BCBAs and the kids specifically. I really grew a love for it. So I was working there 5 days a week. I think my schedule was like 7 to 4. So that worked out because I was like, okay, I know I want to go back to school, but 2 nights a week I'm going to have to be at school at 5. So I had talked to my boss before I even got hired. This was during the interview. First thing, you need to be transparent in an interview if you plan on going back to school or you're in school. That is the first step because you're not going to waste their time and they're not going to waste your time. So in the interview, I was like, hey, my long-term goal is to go back to nursing school. I don't know exactly a timeline for that, but I know that that is in my future, but I'm willing to, work for you guys and go to school. I was like, I can make it work as long as you guys are understanding. And they were totally supportive. They're like, hey, we have tons of people here who are in school or are taking classes or maybe getting their master's degrees to become BCBAs. So they're like, we totally understand the requirements of school. They're really cool. So that was the first thing that I did before I even got into nursing school. I was trying to get a new job because the job I was at previously had a lot of requirements outside of work hours, and I just knew that wasn't going to be feasible for me long term being in a nursing program. So you really have to think about where you're working or if you're applying to new jobs, what the hour requirements are going to be because you need like a set schedule if you're going to be in nursing school. So I got the job there working in HR and I loved it. I really liked all my coworkers and I grew really fond of a lot of the kiddos. But I really missed hands-on care. I missed working like with people directly as an MA, and you know, working with the kiddos and interacting with them every day, and seeing, the positive effects that the behavior technicians had on those kiddos' lives just made me like remember why I'm becoming a nurse and why I became an MA in the first place. And I started to like contemplate my whole life, because I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm in nursing school and I'm, working in HR. Like, yeah, I was working in a healthcare facility and I did that for a reason, because I still wanted to be like integrated into healthcare. I didn't want to, just work HR for like some random corporation. But it just made me like think of the bigger picture, and I was like, I think I need to start working as an MA again. And I was like, I haven't worked as an MA in like 2 years, and it would be good and a positive thing for me to get my skills back. I mean, you never lose them, it's like riding a bike, but when you're not practicing your clinical skills every single day, you get a little rusty. So I was like, maybe I should start looking into working as an MA again. And MA pay in Denver like has gone up quite a bit over the years since I first became an MA, because that was another reason why I was getting so burnt out. Is MAs used to get paid like literal poop, and it's still not great, but you guys know what I mean. Like starting pay of like $18 an hour. Like people at a gas station make more money than I used to as an MA. So I was busting my butt, working at like urgent care and working for a family practitioner, and I just was not making a lot of money. And that's another reason why I started working like on the business side of healthcare, because I was like, I need more money. But I was like, you know what? Money isn't like my top priority right now while being in school. I just need something that's gonna cover my bills, is going to, you know, make sure that I'm secure and that my bills are paid, but also isn't gonna make me, lose my mind and be not functional for school either. So I was like, I bet if I can find kind of a lower maintenance MA job, I could really balance that with school. So I was at my HR position for almost a full year when I started looking for new jobs. I needed something that the hours were a little bit less, because I was working 5 days a week and I just could not like balance the school and working 5 days a week. That just was like overkill for me. I had no time to myself. I just was feeling so burnt out. So I had been in nursing school for like 5 months when I decided to put in my 2 weeks. I found my current job on Indeed, and it was in psych, and I was like, hey, I've been working and like exposed to behavioral health this last like year, so I do kind of have experience. I worked in urgent care, I worked in a family practice, and he was also an HIV/AIDS specialist. So I was like, I've definitely worked in enough settings that I have seen people who also have psych problems. So I was like, this is something that could really benefit me, and it seems like it could be, a good fit. The pay was really well, especially for an MA, and the hours were really good. So online, it had said when I applied, I could either work 5/8, or they also offer a flex schedule, so 4/10s. And I was like, I need that. I was like, I need that 410 schedule because I need an extra day off during the week so that I don't feel so fried, because I was doing clinicals, going to school multiple days a week on top of studying and still working. And I was like, this just isn't feasible. And, bless my husband, he's like, you know, if you need to quit your job, you can. Like, I can hold it down for us. But we're young, you guys. Like, at this point, I think I was 24, 25. Yeah, I was like 24 or 25. And I just was like, I'm not going to put that pressure on my husband, who's the same age as me, and I know is not like rich. If we were like loaded, my husband was loaded, I was just doing the nursing thing because I wanted to become a nurse and I didn't have to work, that would be different. But I'm like, I work for a reason. I have, my own bills, my own car payment, my own insurance, like things like that. And I was like, that's just not fair to put on him. And I just, I don't know. I'm a very independent woman, and my husband, of course, helps me, but I just would never expect him to pay all of my stuff on top of his and expect him to feel supported as well, because we're a partnership. And though I have traditional values, I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want us to feel like we're struggling because I'm just trying to get through school. I was like, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to find a new job that is going to work with my school schedule. So I found my current place. When I interviewed, I just knew that this was meant for me. Like, God told me I needed a change, and He, made me see this job and had me apply, and I interviewed and I loved it. I just knew it was going to be a good fit, and I have absolutely no regrets still about accepting the position here. It's a unionized job, so I've never worked in a union, and that's not really common in healthcare unless you work for Kaiser. But my current place, we have the same union as Kaiser. And so I became friends with some girls at school who work in Kaiser. And so they were telling me, the union has your back and blah, blah, blah. And kind of the benefits of having a unionized job, especially as an MA. And so I was like, man, I think that I should, stick with this job and just see what happens. And I honestly have been the happiest at this job than I think I ever have at any other place I have worked. They are just so understanding about my needs for being a nursing student. It's unreal. I think that I'm lucky, but also I played it smart by doing my research before I just hopped into another position. My manager is a nurse, so she gets how crazy nursing school is and the requirements and clinicals and all the things that come with trying to be a nurse. And everyone I work with is an LPN, an RN, or also an MA. So they just understand that it's not easy and you have to put in a lot of work to become a nurse. So they're all very understanding and very flexible, because there have been a few times I have been late to work, or I have to leave early a few days a week to get to class on time. They understand, I've had to call out a few times because I'm just so beat from clinicals. I just need an extra day off. And, I use my PTO or make up the time or whatever the situation is. But it is honestly a blessing. And because of that flexibility, I am able to do fairly well in school. So that's my first piece of advice. I know that's really long advice, but I just wanted to give you guys that little tip about what to do. in terms of working. So if you plan on working and going to nursing school or whatever your program is, you need to find somewhere that your manager is going to have your back, your coworkers are going to have your back, and you're going to be able to actually perform that job and do your job and, show up, be there, be a good coworker when you're there, but also the flexibility portion is so important. So that's the first piece of advice, is you need to hone down on your schedule and communicate very well. So I work either 4 10s a week and have an extra day off during the week, or I don't flex and I work 5/8s. It just depends on that week. Like if I have class 2 days a week or clinicals on the weekends on top of that, or if I have, some extra days off on the weekend because I don't have clinicals, and maybe I'll try to sleep in and just do the 5/8s. So it just depends. But that has helped me a lot keep my sanity, because getting up at the crack of dawn every single day, 7 days a week for like months on end really does break you down and like really messes up your mental health and your nursing process and thinking clearly. Like you just cannot function well with a schedule like that. So you need to do what you can to help yourself. My next piece of advice is find a job that has enough flexibility during the day that you can study or do homework or whatever. So my job, when we have downtime, like we're not taking care of patients or helping the providers or whatever, I will utilize that time to study and do homework and do practice questions. I do whatever I can to stay on top of my school stuff. Not everyone has that ability. I work with other MAs and CNAs who are like, I wish that was the case for me. So again, feeling very blessed for where I work. Some days it's really busy and I can't do anything. Some days it's really slow and I have a ton of downtime to study. So you need to find somewhere that maybe you have a good workflow to where you're not slammed all the time and you can utilize that time to study. That is a lot of the times where I study is at work. And it's on topic because I'm an MA. I work with a bunch of nurses. If I have questions, they'll help me. It's very, very beneficial on multiple levels. Another piece of advice is do better than what I do for studying outside of work. I am such a bad procrastinator, you guys. Like, it's not good. I have ADHD, and two things that I'm not good at are time management or procrastination. I am horrible at both of those, and I really wish I wasn't, but I'm not perfect. I have other positive traits. Those two are just not them. So, unfortunately, I tend to put things off till last minute, which is like not a good thing. And so I will like cram study the day before or the day of. I do a ton of practice questions, which helps my learning style. I'll do practice questions. If I don't understand it, I'll look it up. So it just depends, you know. Again, not easy, but I do what I have to do. That's just how I do it. If I try to study every single day, I feel like I get burnt out and I start to get like resentful, and then I don't actually like absorb information or learn anything. So for me, even though I'm putting it off, and that's probably not always a good thing, it's better for my mental health that some days I have a day off and I'm not doing anything. I'm not working. I'm not talking or thinking about school. I am doing something for myself because I need that to get through school and get through work and be a wife and have a social life, and be, a good daughter because my family lives here and my husband's family lives here. So for me, some days I need a full day off, and that's it. I'm not answering texts about school. I'm not answering emails. I'm not talking to my coworkers. Like, I am solely focused on myself and my own needs. And that is not selfish. That is called self care. And that is called being an adult and doing what is best for you. Especially working in psych, I've realized just how important mental health is and that I cannot ignore my mental health needs, because then I start becoming like bitter and angry and just like not a good person. So I'm working on that daily. I'm not perfect. I wish that I was always in a good mood, but it's very hard when you work and go to school, you guys. Do what you need to maintain your sanity. Do what you need to maintain your well-being mentally and physically. Enjoy your days off and focus on only your day off. Nothing else outside of that. So yeah, those are kind of like what I do to balance school and work. Again, it's not a perfect process. This is just what I've done so far, and I've passed all my classes. I only have 4 classes left. I'm in Med-Surg 2 right now, and I have geriatrics and IV and leadership left. So 3 more classes, and 1 is already on its way to being completed. Yeah, so whatever I'm doing works for me, and I haven't failed anything, and I'm just chugging along. So that's what I do to balance both. Now,